Hello, in this video I'm going to be teaching you how to make a simple Fruit Ninja game in Scratch. So Fruit Ninja is a game in which fruits pop up from the bottom of the screen and the player needs to slice them. And it's actually fairly simple to make in Scratch. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the Scratch cat. And now we have to choose a sprite. So we're going to use watermelon. That's the first one. And let's have it in water. There it is. And in Fruit Ninja, when you slice a fruit, it cuts in half. But if you look at the costumes, we have full, only one half, and slice. And they do not slice in Fruit Ninja, so no more of that. And we need to make this two halves. So for that, we'll highlight the entire thing, every last bit, and we'll move it to the left, and we'll copy it, Control-C, paste it, Control-V, move this to the right, and turn this upside down, and just line it up. Voila, we now have two halves. So let's just name this half, so that we remember later, and we'll name this full. And now we're just going to coding. So the first thing we want to add is the flag. So when flag clicked. So what happens in Fruit Ninja is they pop up from the bottom. So it chooses a random X position. Not expedition, X position. So what we want is we want it to go to the bottom of the screen. So we're going to make it so that we're just going to put the watermelon at the bottom of the screen. Right there. And we're going to go to X and Y. So the Y value may be different, okay, for you. But you want to make sure it's at the bottom of the screen and that these match. Now for X, it chooses a random value. So we want to put this watermelon at either the left end or the right end of the screen. So we can put this at the left end. So make sure the watermelon is still in the frame when you choose this. And now we're going to use pick random. So you're going to use the pick random and put it in go to X. So let's look at our lower limit of the X. So I've put the watermelon at the left of the screen, and it is negative 199. So I would type that in, negative 199, and let's move this to the right, and it is 197. Again, these values may be different. 197. So let's see, it's working fine. Indeed it is. And now we're going to make it so that it goes up and then goes back down. Now, since this is a simple Fruit Ninja that works quite well, we're just going to make sure that we don't use any quadratic equations or parabolas or anything like that. No velocity, no gravity. It's just going to be a simple glide to a random y position between two limits that we're going to define later, and go back down. So first we're going to go to glide. So we want the X to stay the same. So we're just going to make sure that's the same by using X position. Again, not expedition, X position, which is right over here. I'm putting that in X. And my preferred value for the number of seconds is 0.5, but you can change this later once you've made the game, depending on your preferences. Now for Y, we're going to use the same thing that we did up here, but with different values. So pick random. And let's find an upper limit. So you don't want to make it too high, otherwise it'll go super fast to who knows super fast, which we don't want. But how about we put it over here? Now, this is my preference. Other people may prefer other things. So let's look at the Y value. So 103. They've all given us 1 and 0. And now I'm going to do the same thing, but a bit lower. So negative 58. And now this should work. So you can see that's going up to random position. And now we want it to go right back down. So for that, we're just going to use glide again. Glide. And we're going to make sure that this value is exactly the same, 0.5 seconds to x needs to be the same. So again, x position. And y has to be, since we've already decided, negative 192 minus 192. So let's try it. Nice. Now, since we want this to continue happening, I'm just going to put a forever block around it. Forever loop around it. Sorry. Yep, it's working fine. And if you want there to be a little bit of gravity, then you can make it go up slower, so maybe 0.4, and go down faster, maybe 0.6 or 0.7. Again, you don't need to do this. I picked up the wrong way, sorry. So now what you're going to do is we're going to make it slice. So when I play on my Xbox 360, I use my hands to slice, and on mobile, use your finger. So here, we are going to use our mouse. So we're going to do. So what we want to do is we want to use when flag clicked, and go right back down there to forever. And if then. So it's going to be if it's touching the mouse point. So if touching mouse pointer. So if touching mouse pointer, then switch costume to half. Okay, let's select flag again and slice. But you notice that stays that way, which we don't want. So let's make it so that it switches the costume every time that it repeats to full. And then slice. Slice. Oh yeah. Smash. Smash. Now let's make a score so that the user knows how many fruits they've cut. So for that, we're just going to make a variable, and we are indeed going to make a variable called, how about, fruits sliced. You can name it whatever you want. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to make it so that every time that you start the game, it resets. So fruit slice to 0 when flag clicked. Remember, not inside the forever loop, important. And every time that it slices, change fruit slice by +1. That way it increases. So you'll notice that since I touched it multiple times, it tells me I've sliced 28 fruits, but I've obviously not. So what you're going to do is we are going to make sure that we change fruit slice by 1, and then we're going to make a wait block, because it's going to take a minute for it to go back down, or if it's all the way down, for it to go back up. So how about wait 0.3 seconds. So wait 0.3. Let's try that again. Slice. Yep, it's working fine. Remember, if 0.3 doesn't work for you, you can change it to whatever might work. Maybe 0.5. Because you aren't going to want to slice fruit twice. Yep. So now what we want to do is there are a lot of interesting graphics in Fruit Ninja. So let's start with the backdrop. So a really neat way to make a nice cutting board backdrop, which in my opinion looks pretty awesome, is go into paint and Let's just remove that. And convert to bitmap. Let's use the fill tool. And we're going to make it brown, like a bright brown. So if you want to make it brown, you in fact make an orange that is highly saturated and not bright. So I have that. And we have this. This doesn't look very awesome. It will become awesome. Although you can adjust the color however you may want, in case maybe you want, say, a lighter cutting board, or you want a really dark cutting board, your choice. But I like kind of a nice in the middle cutting board. So I'll fill that, and then we'll convert it back to a vector. Now we're going to add these black lines across. I made an A. So these are basically knife marks. So you can add however many you want, or you don't have to add them at all. And I think it kind of adds to the entire Fruit Ninja feel. So now we're going to make a bit more effect, a few more effects. So what we're going to do is we are going to make those juice splotches. So if you've played Fruit Ninja, you'll know that when you cut a fruit in half, big splotches of juice appear at the bottom because they release juice. So we're going to make a new sprite for the watermelon's juice, because in another video I'm going to be reviewing how to add more fruits. So let's paint it, and let's make a circle because it's juice. And watermelon juice is generally kind of a bright, clearish red. Let's make that. And juice does not have an outline, so we'll just use this to remove the outline. And a circle. Yeah. Now make sure that if you're adding the juice, because this part is optional by the way, then make sure it's a bit smaller than your fruit. So maybe 60. Right. However much you think is appropriate. So I like to use generally 65 or 75 depending on fruit. So let's take 70. That's right in the middle. Yep, that looks good. So it should barely cover the juice. That's where it should be. And now let's add the code. So first things first, when a flag click, hide. You might ask why I'm doing that. That's because when you click the flag, juice does not appear unless the flag has juice and you're slicing the flag. And we're just going to be using clones, which will go to the actual watermelon and show. That way it looks like the watermelon has juice, because there's probably going to be lots of juice stains, and one thing handling it all is not physically possible. So let's hide it. And then this sprite needs to know when it's been cut. The watermelon's been cut. So we're going to be making a message, okay? So broadcast message 1. So change true slice day 1, broadcast message 1, and wait. So what we're gonna do is we want to make sure that when it receives message 1, then it goes to the watermelon. But like I said, it's not physically possible for one to control so many watermelons. So when it receives message 1, it's going to make a clone of itself. And when it starts as a clone, first thing is it's going to show, because right now it's hidden because the original one was hidden. So show, here it is, and go to, and using the drop down menu, watermelon, or if you painted your own, it's maybe called Sprite 1. So let's do that. Let's try it. Yep, it's working. Yeah. So now we have a fully functioning Fruit Ninja game on Scratch. So in a future video, I'm going to be reviewing how to add more fruits to this game. But that's it for now, and I hope you